Hey guys, I wanted to show you how I made the team with which I do over 100 million damage to the Quan boss. Doesn't matter the affinity. Most of the damage is from the passive of the Geomancer. The team survives so many rounds thanks to the Vixel shield extension. And of course the key here is speed. Watch the whole video if you want to see how the shield is growing, or just keep to the team setup. So guys, this is the team setup. As I told you earlier, the most important stats are the speed. If you have the same characters, you will need to make them exactly the same speed as I did if you want to use that team setup. Remember, everything is on auto, so the team lead is Corvus with opening field research. As you can see, 210 speed and all the other stats. What will you need? The accuracy is for the poisons if you want to, do an extra damage. The Geomancer, the opening with the Quicksand Grasp, the speed is 197. Emic, you need to forbid this. No need of that skill, it only will mess up everything, so leave it just like that with the speed of 186. Vixel with opening Codex Intercipio with the speed of 193. The other stats as you can see. And Demeter, it's with opening with Light of the Deep and the speed of 191. As you can see, a lot of HP for her. Now I'm going to show you the Corvus the Corruptor. First of all, as you can see, probably this is not the best way you can build him, but because now it's working perfectly for my team setup, I don't want to mess everything. So this is the stats. As you can see, nothing too special. The most important thing once again is the speed. The armor is accuracy. The banner is just something not very special. Basically the gear is not so great, but not great, not terrible. It's working perfectly for my team setup. No relics. I'm not going to use any relic because once again I don't want to mess up anything, because every time only one key, everything on auto, and I'm doing perfectly on the Demon Lord. Fully booked as you can see, and those are the master race. This is how I build the Geomancer. Again, nothing special, nothing that is impossible to build like stats. As you can see, the armor is defense percent, critical rate for the gloves, speed, shield. This is nothing special, nothing interesting. As you can see, I didn't even make the artifacts, the accessories level 16, because I don't want to mess up anything, because now it's working just perfectly. No relic, fully booked out with the blessing of Phantom Touch, because I had 3 stars for him, and those are the master race, basically for a little extra damage. Demeter with Divinity Life set and 2 Immortal sets. As you can see, a lot of HP. The chest plate is HP, and basically that's it. And I think, yeah, and the banner is HP, and the amulet is defense. Well, doesn't really matter. Again, no relic, fully booked with the blessing of compounding persons, and this is the master race. As you can see, Emic is with two sets for the shield, and this is very important. You must build it like that if you want to do the thing with the shield. All the other stuff, again, a lot of HP. The banner is HP too, and the amulet again HP. No relic for him again, fully booked. You can do it without booking him max, but probably it will be harder, because you know what his skills are doing. It's extremely important for the shield. and this is the master race. And finally the Vault Keeper Vixel, which is probably the most important champion. So he's with the protection set, nothing special. As you can see, the armor is even resist. But the most important thing, again, the right speed. And as you can see, the banner is level 12. I don't want to get any extra speed, that's why I'm not going to upgrade it anymore. No relic for him, again fully booked. This is very important if you want to do the thing with the shield. Probably this is the most important skill that is doing everything. And here are the masteries. And again, I'm going to show you on Nightmare. Nightmare is probably the most satisfying way, because very often you will get 1500 turns. Now I just got 195, but doesn't matter. Again, the damage is more than enough. As you can see, again the passive of the Geomancer, of course, and the poisons of the Corvus. You can use different poisoners, different characters, but the Vixel and the Demeter are mandatory. At the end, I'm going to leave you with a couple of minutes once again with the battle on Ultra Nightmare. Everything is on auto and on a normal speed, so you can see how the shield is growing and what exactly is happening. So you can basically adjust your characters, do some experiments and etc. So thank you guys.